Boatworks today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much.
So welcome back to the shop, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Now, this past week has been a pretty productive week for me. I got a lot of loose ends crossed off the list, which always feels good. Got some glass laid up, got some fairing done, and I corrected some hiccups that I may or may not have personally done. I admit nothing, but with that said, I'm happy with how the week went. Check it out. All right, so I've made some decisions here, but I haven't quite settled 100% on, I guess, some of the fine details. But first things first, I am definitely going to put in a support on the underside of this lid. Now, in order to do that, I need to know how high to build it. You know, coming from the underside of the hull here and extending to the top side of this lid. I'm actually going to leave it a little bit shy, but I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So I think in order to do this, it's going to be best while this lid is in place, obviously. So I need to do a little bit of MacGyvering here to figure out how to measure that height accurately. But I got some ideas, and like a lot of good solutions, it usually involves a little bit of bubble gum and some spit. So, but instead of bubble gum and spit, I'm going to be using some hot glue and some cardboard. So, I think it'll work. So now I'm going to do this far one first, so I'm not having to do a reach around from something in front to have to get to the back. So, doing the back one first, and see what kind of a mess I can make here. I will say, if you don't have a heat gun in your arsenal, or not a heat gun, but a glue gun, you gotta fix that one, because these things are so damn handy. All right, now, dry fit first before I lube this thing up. Yeah, I think that's gonna work beautiful. All right, cool. Let's lube it up. Now, I don't need a ton, because the more glue I put on here, it's just gonna be that much more cleanup that I have to do. So I'm only gonna put on just enough to hold it in place. I don't know what that was, but put that right like there. And then I do think I'm gonna get one more back here. One of my favorite sayings is that the devil is always in the details. Well, as it turns out, I'm gonna have to take a couple steps backwards to start making some progress going forwards here. Let me show you what I'm talking about, or what I just realized. Okay, so obviously the 3 stringers that I put in a while back, and I didn't really, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Maybe I just didn't have a reference point, or whatever the situation was. Irrelevant at this point. Now, when you're looking at this, I made a little mark right there. Actually, there's 2 of them. Well, 3 of them right now, I guess. But those 3 little marks, those are actual true center. So that is the center from that corner and that corner. So that is dead center. However, when you're looking at this, my center stringer, it is not centered. Not at all. It's about an inch off to port. So that's going to create a little bit of a problem when I go to actually cut out these openings, whatever, or, you know, for the big hatch that's on here. When I go to cut those openings off, if that center stringer isn't centered on that cover, when I go to make my cuts, I'm going to end up cutting into the top of the stringer. So I gotta knock this center stringer, take it back out. So luckily I didn't glass it in place yet. It's just held in place with some Fixo. So I need to knock that out of place. And then as long as I've got to do that, rather than cutting an extension to fit on top of the existing center stringer that's here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock it out, and I'm just going to cut a whole new stringer that's actually going to be the height that I need running down the center that will support that large lid. Nothing else, just throw some more horsepower at it. There we go. Sweet. And now I got some cleanup to do, but that's okay. This took a lot more screwing around than what I was hoping for, but I finally got it fit and it's centered, plumb and straight. Now we're in good shape, finally. But ended up having to notch this bottom side to fit underneath here, and actually that worked out pretty well because now this cross support is going to be supported. Whatever. It took a lot more screwing around than what I thought. You know, I went into this thinking, all right, you know, two, 3, 4 cuts, we're good. Maybe 2 or 3 dozen cuts, and now we're finally good. So, whatever. It is what it is. It's all about the results. So I'm gonna get this area cleaned up. I'm gonna get some Fixel primed, get this bonded down, switch gears into the other workspace, I guess, and start working on the lid. Yeah. Look at that. And who says nothing on a boat is ever square? Actually, that's almost true. All right, so for round 1, I think this looks great. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm gonna be doing 2, probably 3 applications, but I'm gonna be keeping each application thin, you know, as far as how thick I'm gonna be laying the material on. I'm just gonna be using a wider trowel just to give me more of that consistent profile that I'm looking for. But this is how it's looking on round one. Again, thin. Thin is the key if you want to avoid a bunch of sanding. Now there's still little pinholes in through here, and that's fine for round one. Round two should then be able to come back in and fill up any of these little pinholes or defects that I missed on round one. So all in all, I'm gonna call this a win. All right, so I just came around and just basically touched up all of the edges here. Now, kind of part of that process is I kind of boogered up the top a little bit. So I think I'm gonna, like so many other times in my life, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a punt here. Now I do still have some material mixed up. So I'm gonna spread this over what I have mixed up right here. I'm gonna spread this over best I can until I run out. I mean, I am gonna be using the wider trowel, but you know, although I gotta say, for round one, yeah, it's not perfect, but it looks really good for round one. I'll sand it down in the morning and be able to kind of reassess the situation here. Now, before I check out for the night, there is one last thing that I want to do, and that is to fill this gap in through here. I had to cut this a little bit low just so that I was able to pivot the center bulkhead up into place. But now that it's in position, well, I've got a little gap there. Now, I have some options as far as what I could use to take up that gap, but I want something, there's a couple things that I want out of this filler. One, I want it to be somewhat flexible, because this area in general is going to be prone to a lot of shock, a lot of vibration, and that kind of thing. So something that's flexible, that's not going to be quite so brittle. And also, I want something that's already pre-thickened and easy to use. So there is something that fits that bill. So I'm gonna go with this. This is gonna be the Thixoflex. Again, just because of convenience, I can prime the nozzle, pump it in there, and I can be in and out of here in less than 5 minutes. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Round one, sanding, done. Now I gotta say, overall, I think this looks really, really good. Again, emphasizing for round one. Now, when you're looking at this, all the areas that you see here, that are slightly darker, so a little bit darker patch here compared to right up in here, Anywhere you're seeing kind of like these darker little patches, these are still low. Anywhere that's lightened up, well, obviously these got hit with the sand or with the sandpaper and are pretty much dialed in. I mean, everything is flush and flat. Everything feels good, again, with the exception of these little low spots. Along the edges, they actually cleaned up really, really nice. Again, still not perfect, not yet, but there's still some low spots, you know, kind of peppered throughout the whole edge of the cover here. But all in all, very, very nice. So as far as the progress that I'm going to continue making on this hatch for this week, I'm going to call this one paused, at least for now. I'm at the end of the week, I'm running out of time, and there's still at least one more thing that I wanted to kind of button up, put a nice little bow on top. So, switch gears, move some stuff around, back up on the birdie. All right, now the last thing I want to do before I check out for the week is I want to get these pockets, both the port as well as the starboard side. I want to get these knocked down and get some fairing on them. Now, as far as how much fairing is going to be involved, surprisingly, not all that much. Just that little gap along the bottom there. You know, and it varies a little bit from location to location, but for the most part, this port side's looking really good. Now, how about the starboard side? And similar deal there. A little bit, very little. Maybe about 1/8 of an inch, give or take. I will say, think what you want, but sometimes it is just better to be lucky. Now, let me get the sander, vacuum, and everything set up. We're gonna knock this down. I'm gonna be hitting this with, I think I've got 60 grit on the sander right now. So I'm gonna knock it or scuff everything because all of the surfaces are a little bit low. So I'm not necessarily looking to remove a lot of material, but I do need to scuff it so that the fairing compound has something to kind of grab onto. So I'm gonna hit this. I'm not doing any shaping, but I am gonna scuff the crap out of it using some 60 grit, give it a wipe down, then total fair it. We're gonna turn it green. And with these pockets faired in, the big hatch cover, probably about 95% faired. I'm at the end of the week. Unfortunately, this is where I'm gonna have to cut this one off. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found this interesting. And if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you in advance. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those down below. I will do my best to follow up with you. And as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a safe Labor Day weekend. And I'll see you in the next video. Although I've got some things, at least for 1 week, that's going to be kind of changing things up. I don't want to say too much about it right now, but it's kind of exciting news. So there will be a video for next week. It's probably not going to be on this, but it is 100% directly going to be related to fiberglassing, and there may or may not be in-person classes that you might have the option potentially to participate in. More on that next week after I get the details hammered out. So again, have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the next video.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.